everyone. I just wanted to welcome you all to our Rocking Plexus team meeting. And this is part of our Rock the Upline series. And we are going to be spending our evening tonight with Missy, who is an Emerald Ambassador and within our Upline. We also have Ryan Prouty joining us tonight, and her downline will be enjoying this recording along the evening. And thank you, Carol, for joining us live this evening. And without further ado, Missy, thank you so much for joining us, and I will give the floor to you.
Well, thank you so much. I'm super honored that Tasha asked me to do this, and love to get to know more people that are on the team. And I'll just kind of start a little bit with kind of what my story is, what got me into Plexus. I actually know Susie McCall. We were friends. We didn't like go hang out, but we were baseball mamas together. And if you don't get to be a stranger with Susie. And so when you meet Susie, you are going to have a conversation. And so over several years, we'd gotten to know each other quite a bit on the baseball field. And she started, and I wasn't a huge Facebooker. I mean, I would get on Facebook, but I didn't post a lot. I didn't comment a lot, but I noticed them talking about this Plexus thing, and I really didn't pay a whole lot of attention because Susie was my health nut friend, and I was not a health nut. And so, but after I watched it for a little bit, I was at such a low point with my health. I was absolutely at that. You feel less than worthless. You feel, you physically feel so bad. My weight had grown so much. My mood swings, I was just at a very, very, very low point. And I was not someone who tried just a bunch of diets. I mean, I could lose some weight. I knew what to do. I mean, we are an educated bunch, this people on this earth right now. It's not a matter of us not knowing what we should and shouldn't do. But I could not maintain it. So Susie lived literally 1.5 miles away from me, and I didn't even call her. I just went to her website and ordered a 3-day trial and didn't tell her. And she didn't notice. So I got my 3-day, and I felt a great difference. And I went ahead and had to fess up, called her and said, okay, I did this. She just died laughing. She's still laughing. But I don't know if you guys have ever met someone like that, if you have been in that spot before, but when you don't feel like you can handle having one more failure. So I didn't want anybody to know that I was going to try this, because it would be one more thing that I had tried and failed at. And I didn't even tell, and my husband and I are very close. We literally don't even, still to this day, even though we have so much more financial freedom, I still don't buy a pair of shoes without calling him going, do you think I could buy a pair of shoes? I mean, I didn't tell him anything. So I signed up as an ambassador because that's what Susie told me to do. And I didn't think I could afford it, just like everybody else thinks that they can't afford it. But I could afford all those Dr. Peppers and running through McDonald's every morning for breakfast and, being too tired to cook. So I went out almost every night and got food for my family, that kind of thing. I worked for 21 years in the corporate world for an investment firm, and was a full-time working mom. And I gave everything of me to everybody else. And I think a lot of mamas can totally relate to that. I mean, it's just hard to find a balance. I had great success with weight loss, and therefore I had a lot of people notice. And I am not an extrovert. I'm not shy necessarily, but I'm not going to just go talk to strangers. And in my workplace, we all sat in short cubicles, so everybody could hear every conversation you had or notice. So they were all like, well, you're not losing weight without me. And that's really kind of what started it, was, well, send me your website and this and that. I never intended to do a business. I didn't know what MLM meant. I didn't know anything about the even term network marketing. I had never heard of something called a compensation plan. And my upline told me 6 months in, when she went Emerald, I think there might be something to these points. I mean, we did not have a clue. I mean, you could not have found a group of people that had less idea of what we were doing. And so that's really what happened was she was like, well, you know, I'm told that if you get 3 people, then you won't have to pay for your products. And so I was like, well, I've got 3 people, that kind of thing. I mean, we were so clueless. I trained myself. We all did by watching Sonia Dudley YouTube videos. That we didn't have a success kit. We just didn't know what we were doing. But there was something kind of magical about that too, because we didn't overthink it. We probably should have, but we didn't. And with the weight loss, I found though that it went so much more than just giving too much of myself, and I had to start working on me. And I don't mean like I went into some deep therapy, but I'm telling you, I had a change in me where my husband was like, we are never not doing whatever you're doing now, because I feel like I got my wife back. Because my personality was changing and my confidence was changing, and that definitely went back to the products. But it also went back to the community of people that I met within Plexus that I didn't know I needed. And especially as an introvert that has great friends. I mean, I'm not a homebody. Well, I am kind of a homebody, but I'm not, a hermit. I have wonderful lifelong friends and fantastic family and extended family. I just needed like-minded people that understood and really cared about where I was at. And you guys, it kind of stems back at 20 years old. I suddenly had to have brain surgery. I had never had any health issues. I had a seizure. We thought, oh, well, we don't know why. My poor husband's the only one that was there with me. We weren't even married yet. 2 months later, I had another one. I had a seizure. A few weeks later, he asked me to marry him. A few weeks after that, I had another seizure. A few weeks after that, I find out I have to have brain surgery. And we got married, and 5 weeks later, I had brain surgery. I mean, it was a crazy time. But you know what? When I left there, I thought it all went well. I didn't have any residual problems. But when I got my hair cut for the first time after they had shaved my head, the lady said, gosh, you're really lucky that guy still married you. And I was like, what? Because it hadn't occurred to me. I was only 20 years old. It hadn't occurred to me that Dusty could have bolted. I didn't even think like that, but I think that embedded in me that there was something wrong with me and I was damaged. And so I have learned through this process with Plexus and learning more about me and getting back my self-worth, that I let somebody program something into me that I never even saw that lady again. I certainly did not go back to her for a haircut. But I was at a real vulnerable place anyways, walking in. I'd never met her, had part of this hair shaved. And so it made me realize that there's so much more to Plexus than weight loss. And there's so much more to your health than weight loss. And there's so much to my attitude and my mood and the deep, deep hopelessness that was rooted so much to my gut. And I didn't know any of that. I mean, I thought all of my friends I had a friend that she was so way ahead of me, but she was like, oh, well, my daughter doesn't eat gluten because she has anxiety. This was probably about 5 or 6 years ago. And I remember like elbowing my husband, like, okay, well, she knew so much more than I knew. You know what I mean? So this has been an explosive thing for me, and it just turned into a business right before my eyes. And it has been wild. It's been a wild ride. I just had my 4-year anniversary, Plexiversary. And in the end of May of 2016, I was able to retire after going Emerald from a 21-year career. And so now I'm working this business from home full-time instead of full-time and mama and wife and, all of that. And it's been this incredible thing. And the only formula that I know to say, because people always say, well, how did you get to Emerald? There's something, when I take the color personality test and all that, I'm always like a mix of things with a little bit. The smallest is always blue because I'm that introverted girl. But the thing that really defines all of it for me is that when I said I was doing something, that's it. And that's just the way I roll. And so even on those days when I had worked 40 or 50 hours that week, I still, after work, did something every day. every Saturday and every Sunday. I did something every single time towards my Plexus business. I met with people. I would post that I'm going to be at the Starbucks on such and such street. And sometimes I'd have 7 people show up, and many times I had no people show up. So when you say that you're doing a Zoom and you've got 3 people, okay, that happens, and that's what Record is made for. But you did it, and you showed up. And so those are the things that culminated. I did not shoot to Emerald in 6 to 9 months. I just didn't. But I will tell you this. I know without a shadow of a doubt that the Missy Rust in March of last year that went Emerald was much more prepared to be a leader in Plexus than if I had gone at 6 or 9 months out of the chute, because I was not emotionally and spiritually, everything. I was not prepared to lead a team. And I have people like Mandy that is my level 1 that knew so much more. I mean, that girl never needed me for 1 second. I mean, she signed up and gone. And so that's why a whole lot of the people under her don't know me, because Mandy left me in the dust, and I could not have applauded her away that anymore. And that's the other thing that people need to learn, is that you don't want to sit around and go, gosh, if I could just get a diamond. Let me tell you that was just the luck of the draw that she called me. I wasn't even with it enough to have prospected her. She just called me. And because I'm introverted and I don't just talk just for the sake of talking, when I was making those posts, she thought, oh, if she's doing this, if she, you know what I mean? That kind of thing. So that's a big part of my story, is just, it is the products, it is the gut health, it is all those things that we're learning that we feel so passionate about that we just can't shut up. But there can be so much more that somebody needs than just for you to help them order a bottle of supplements. And so for me, that's been the magic of this, is that I needed people and people need me. And so that's kind of what has propelled all of this for me. When I get into the business side of all of this, each month I try to kind of change things up. And then when they come out with a reformulation, like they did this month of our X Factor Kids, it just kind of gives you a little extra something. So, here's some pointers that I'm doing with my team on at least the X Factor Kids. And I will tell you that I'm not overly creative. I do totally listen to other people and steal their contests and their ideas. And I think that is fair game, because there's, everybody has a gift. And so I totally, that's the other thing I would tell you guys, is whether it's a sideline sister like you guys are, or it's somebody that's in your upline or your downline, you get a partner in this and you will make it so much more fun. And I have a sideline sister. I mean, we don't benefit each other one bit from our business, but we just do better together. And so I would always recommend that along your path, if you could find some like-minded people that, and it's so funny because my runner, accountability partner is totally opposite of me. She is totally extroverted, and she is totally the life of the party, and she will talk to anybody, but she doesn't know a detail about anything. And we are just totally, we just work though. But think about it, like my husband and I'm like that one that parks it at, you guys will probably notice if you see me at a costume party at Leaders Retreat, I am in one spot usually. And somebody's like, where's your husband? I'm like, somewhere around here. He just goes and does his thing. Opposites attract. And so don't think that because you don't have the same personality, color, or type that you can't match up with someone. But this thing is really fun if you can do it together. And so if you combine team stuff, just make sure they're a safe person to allow on to be a good influence on your team. But this is what I've been saying to my team. Ame Darling and Cindy Latham, I think we got it in an email too, have put out that video that they do a really good job of explaining the X Factor Kids. And so kind of what I've been doing and what I've put out on my wall and what I'm sending out to people are that link. And so you can do a watch this link and give me, you know, something that you got from it, and I'll enter you for a drawing for such and such. I've been doing some of that. You know, that video is pretty great because, you know, they go into the whole 1 in 3 kids eat junk food every day. Well, we're a Plexus family, and I guarantee you that my kids are still eating junk food, especially because they're driving, and I don't have a whole lot of control over what they're doing all day long. Even eating in the school systems, that's some junk food. 60% of kids don't get enough vitamins in their diet. Well, I would say there's probably at least that for most American adults too. Our kids are overfed and undernourished, and it's been like that in the U.S. for a long time. 1 in 3 kids are overweight. So they're overfed, undernourished, therefore overweight. So, you know, a lot of this is due to lifestyle changes that we all know. Screen time instead of playing outside. Our soils are depleted. And what does this all go back to? Gut health. So the people that have been watching your journey all the way already know that Plexus and you are all into gut health. So, you know, this video is so good, and I saw what your comment was, Ryan. It is. It's so perfectly done. And it is kind of conversational, so it's not so that, you know, they're not real stiff when they're video, and it's short. But, you know, it goes back to, it educates them about C-section babies. Guys, I didn't know all that stuff about C-section babies till like 6 months ago. I was shocked. And it's not like I'm the first person that knows stuff, but I was floored. Started reading about that about 6 months ago. 1 in 3 kids are born by C-section. And then they said in 2010, 74 million prescriptions of antibiotics were filled that year. And that taking 1 round of antibiotics can take the gut up to a year to regenerate. I mean, that's just, and when I think back, especially when they're little, and my kids were daycare babies, we were at the doctor all the time. You know, it was always a sinus infection that went into an upper respiratory infection. I had really healthy kids, but I mean, so these things, when we can't get people to pay attention to their own health, like Missy wouldn't, they're going to listen to you about their kids. And so when this goes right along, the way Plexus has been so wonderful about this is that we are totally gut health linked. This is going to go right into that. So I think that using that video, if you're not using it, you're really, really missing out, because everything that you need to have is in that very short video. So what I'm doing, and I got this idea from a Jewel. She put together one of the graphics that we got that's in the shareables of the X Factor kids, and she emailed out that information with that link to 5 to 10 people that had turned their nose up to her in the past about learning about Slim and the triplex. And she got 2 out of every 5 finally listened to her and paid attention and made an order this month. So I have started that same process today. I can't tell you my results yet. Sending that out. And I have way more than 5 or 10 people that have turned their nose up at me over the last 4 years. So I've got quite the end of the month challenge going on for myself. So that's what I'm challenging my team to do, that as well. So you can message it, email it, text it, whatever. That, you know, put that link to that thing on there. If you want to do something openly, do a challenge to your team for that too. That's the other thing. It's this time of the month. You go through your reports and you'll see those people that are between like 20 PV and 80 PV. So running a good contest to say, hey, you know, send me proof that you ordered the X Factor kids and get yourself to 100 PV and I'll enter you for this. My team wants cash. I mean, I can buy cute little Kate Spades, and my team doesn't want Kate Spades. I also am heavy on guys. And dudes want the cash. So, you know your team about that kind of stuff too. But it's not just trying to get people to get that 100 PV so you get those points. That's not my goal. My goal is let's get more education. Let's get the product in their hand. And then even if they don't have kids or grandkids, they can sell that product and kind of get things out there that way too. So, oh, and Lexi, there's been a track put on Lexi for it too, which is another way to, get somebody involved with, hey, can I hook you up to this information on this? People will be often more likely to listen to you for their children than they would be for themselves. The other thing that I'm doing this month is I'm calling it a family combo. And so I start most people on the triplex combo, and I'm going to do a family combo, and I may even do a privately, because I can't publicly post that I'm going to give something away, but it may be one of those, first time triplex order, and I will include maybe an incentive code to buy the X Factor kids, or a reimbursement, or, something along those lines. But I just think that from a business standpoint, and from the amount of incredible stuff that they've put into this vitamin, we've got to grab it while we can. And people like me, I would have listened for my kids before I would have listened for myself. And that's about all I've got. If anybody has any questions or anything.
I have one. Missy, when you said that she emailed the full length of the video with Ame and Cindy?
She did. Okay.
So I ran into, this is just information for you guys. I ran into Ame at the pool, and we have a mutual friend, and so we were talking a little bit. They had lawyers, compliance, sitting at that table behind the video. So everything they said was compliant.
Yeah, and I'm so glad that you said that, because
that's really nervous.
And that's the thing, is that, we can't, no matter what we do, we're going to mess something up. So it's scripted. And then I know that those ladies, they do, like, they almost audition for it, and then Chris sits in there with them, the head attorney for Plexus, and does it. And I found that out at Jewel training. So you get to go there for Jewel training. And then, he sat in our room a lot too. And he's one of those that, you don't do this. And he has no problem telling you to stop. So I'm so glad that you said that, because that is huge for us, that they are doing these things for us. And then we know that we're safe and our product is safe, and therefore our business is safe, because they've made everything compliant. But yes, they have been sending that full, which is why a lot of times people are incentivizing, if you'll watch this whole video and send me something. But they're getting, I think 2 and 5 is pretty great for a 1-day turnaround.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And Karen, welcome. I see that you've joined us. Thank you. But and Missy, thank you. I guess I didn't realize that I didn't know your story in depth. I knew pieces, I guess, of it, but wow. I'm grateful just the fact to have had you on here, because I've known you, but I had no idea. And
yeah, I know, it's weird, isn't it? Because we all feel like we know each other. We can't wait to throw our arms around each other's necks when we see each other. But wow, until you do this alongside of one another, we don't really know what everybody's story is. And it goes back to showing that. So, Tasha, you've been in what, 2 to 3 years in Plexus? Yeah, so you and I didn't even know each other's story that well, even though we consider each other friends. So think of all the people out there that are suffering silently.
I know. It blows me away. It blows me away. Karen, I know you got on a little bit later, and anyone else watching, gosh, you got to go back and watch this, because that's incredible, Missy. Wow. And I love your husband 10 times more after hearing that as well.
Yeah. And he is such a wonderful guy. And, he's a big aspect too, is that you want to be the person that your spouse married. And he's this little bitty, cute little ball of energy. And then I felt like a slug, this really overweight slug. It's the things that we say to ourselves. And the man still loved me, but you want to be that person that they married at 20 years old, So yeah, Well, I really appreciate you asking me to be on this and being super flexible with letting me pick what time. And it's been wonderful. It's been an honor.
No, thank you. And I appreciate it because, again, I mean, you do this with so many people, but I mean, I think even with people within our own downlines or even within our immediate uplines, you jump right in and you try to do the Plexus thing, but I think you try to do the business so fast and so hard a lot of times, and you worry about your own success and your own regimen and all those things that you forget to look outwards and see what success is around you. And
Right.
I mean, and you've amazed me tonight. I think you saw me many times. I was like, it was you. I had no idea. And
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
yeah, no, and I appreciate you sharing with us. And thank you, Ryan, for joining us tonight. But Carol and Karen, are there any questions that you have that you would like to ask Missy while she's here, or even Ryan while she's here, one of our sideline teams? I mean, Missy kind of bragged on how important it is to have those sidelines, or just anyone that you can link arms with and run with. And that's definitely what Ryan is for us. And we have a lot of those, so we're very blessed. But I'll let you guys, if you have anything, I'd love you to be able to have this opportunity.
It made me feel good when you said about seeing other people on your team and up and down posting things and going ahead and using those things too. I felt very guilty about that at first. I mean, I guess.
Oh gosh, don't ever, because that's what 90% of the time, even when you're looking at diamonds, we've shared things. I would encourage you to always try to personalize it to you, because that's what people want is, Carol, they're buying into you. They're interested in Plexus, but they're buying into Carol. So when you share a little nugget at the beginning of those posts, but I would say go ahead, whoever you stole it from, give them a like and a comment so that you boost it. But I guarantee you they probably stole it from someone else.
Well, it made me feel good. Just a while ago, I saw someone else took something of mine. Yes.
That's a milestone.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Yes. No, I'm so glad. I'm glad you shared that too, because I can remember messaging people, do you mind if I share this? And I caused them more trouble having to go say yes on their message than, but I don't think you ever need to worry about that. Just do something to boost their post and make a positive comment.
I do. Well, thank you. Thank you.
Oh, no, definitely, Carol. Never be scared to steal and share. And I mean, I love it. You're right. It is such a good feeling when you start seeing people taking your things. Sometimes I'll sneak a little hashtag in or something to tweak it a bit. And then I know, oh, that person took from me, and yay. It's silly, and it makes us feel good. Don't feel bad.
Sure. Yes.
And again, one day you're going to be the person creating those posts and creating those graphics on your own. And it's just, we all have to start somewhere. Never feel guilty for that.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why that, sisterhood of getting somebody, the running buddy, because, my running buddy is way more creative than I am. And so she the way she writes is perfect and that whole thing, but I can come up with good ideas, but she can put it into fruition in my mind, way more fun than I can. So it's always great to, we're basically brainstorming all of us together. And that's why these Zooms are so wonderful.
Mm-hmm. It gives you the opportunity, especially being live, Carol, it gives you the opportunity to get to meet with people within your sidelines. Like Karen is a perfect example of someone who's in more of a smaller, close-knit local sideline for you, which is a great resource to have.
Yes.
Well, it's just been amazing to me how, Tasha and Julie, when we do, everybody's willing to hear, I can do this and look what I have. And I found this, I created this graphic, and it really makes you feel like you belong, and that's makes you want to do more.
Well, and that's that community that what I found is what you're finding too. And the guy that came up with the compensation plan for Plexus had spent a lifetime in this business. And so he knew what he was doing, because there's a little facet of our compensation plan that makes everyone benefit from anybody outside of their team still selling product too. And so those pay points are genius because it takes away that I don't want you to get the sale, I want the sale. And that I guess is in other companies. Not all companies, I'm sure, but it's the thing that gave some companies a bad name. And he was really smart with that because we all want to help each other because the amount of products sold in our company benefits everyone. And so even if it isn't just from the kindness of your heart that you hope that it is, at the end of the day, reaching across lines really helps everybody. And that's what, I don't know if you've heard the term one Plexus, but that's from corporate, you know, one Plexus, one team. And it really has been absolutely true.
Cool. It's been pretty amazing.
I'm glad you're enjoying it.
Me too.
Anyone else? Anything? We're down to about less than a minute because I'm a cheapo and I have the free version of Zoom. But Missy, I just want to thank you so much for being here with us tonight. Everyone, I'm going to be getting together this recording so that you can share with your downlines and Ryan with your teams. But I just want to thank you, Missy, so much. I mean, you had my mouth on the floor with your story, and I'm just thank you for giving yourself to us in that way. And I can't wait to hug your neck the next time I see you, even more closer than I think we were the last time we saw just a week ago.
Yeah, I know. Well, thank you so much. And you guys have a wonderful night.
Absolutely. But thank you all for joining us live. I love the live faces. I love the live interaction. So that means a lot to me. And I appreciate you making the time for us. And have a blessed night and a great weekend, guys. We have one more day on the Plexus Planner Incentive. So go out there and get it.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Thank you, Missy.